Good morning. My name is Stephanie Ewald. I teach at Fairview High School in Fairview, Oklahoma.
All right. So the first question is, what are your experiences teaching lesson 19, Don't Be Scammed? What went well and what did not go well?
Well, I have seniors, and this is embedded in my English class. We are English 4, and it's for my college prep students. But we incorporate a unit that deals with getting them ready for college, what they're going to be looking at. And so this one is really important to me because I have students who really don't have a background or knowledge. Some don't have checking accounts, some don't have savings, and they face the world going into the college setting being bombarded by things like credit card offers and thinking that they've got to have a new car and not even taking care of their debit cards. And so going into this, that was really important to me. What I really appreciate with my students is that they actually are very receptive to this after we get started. I'm not going to say at the beginning because we're at the end of the year. They're going, this doesn't matter to me until we get into it. And I think at that point when they see, this could happen to them, maybe they know people that this could happen to. I think one of the things that they were talking about that they were shocked by was like the dating scams and not knowing because they're all on the social media. And so with getting, offers that way over the phone, because they're really big on the phone, but, they're going, well, dating, who would ever thought about dating? Or even someone that they kind of know that they don't know very well, just learning to trust those people and give them identification because we are a small town and we are just used to, if someone needs something, you just give them the information, not knowing to keep all of their things private, I think is the biggest issue that we've had. And so that's been an eye opener for them. And then we actually had some speakers come in and talk to them about what it takes to, go ahead and make deposits. And when you're looking to rent a place or to lease a place when you're starting to rent, and the types of things that you want to be careful about sending out and sharing.
Okay. The next question is what are your tips for a teacher using lesson 19 in the classroom?
For me, mine was doing my homework, making sure that I had everything in there. And we didn't do this all in one day. We chunked it up to each one was at least one day, and letting them get involved, letting them dig in. I know when it said the copies per students, I definitely did that. But what they really enjoyed looking through that was presenting. So having them take some ownership over, well, why wouldn't this work? Having that discussion amongst themselves was very important, I think, because they learn more probably from that because they took some ownership of, well, this would affect me. This is about me and my future. And so I really liked that part. I had one group that actually got up and they created their own video to act things out. And I really liked that one because they were saying what not to do. And so they were doing all the wrong things. And some of the kids in the class are going, I think I've done that. I give out that information, or I didn't know that could happen to me. And so when we did the charts and the papers, that was great. But the one that did the video, I think that one stuck out even more. So the kids actually kind of took it and ran with it and kind of giving them some of that freedom to do that and trying to get ready for that next component, I think really kind of gave them that. Don't be afraid to spend a little bit more time, go back and visit. I know we kind of had a discussion at the end and kind of a little exit tickets out, but don't be afraid to go back and look at those things, do some research with them. We put things on the overhead that they had found and shared that out. We put up a Google Doc to kind of do that as well. And so giving them some leeway and some freedoms to go and research and find some things that weren't in the lesson were really important.
Okay, the next question is, why does this lesson 19, Don't Be Scammed, bring value to a student beyond the classroom?
For the scam, that's a lifelong lesson. I use the example when my son was a freshman in college, his grandparents parents got a call about 3 in the morning from someone saying they were from New York City. He was in jail, so such and such had happened, to send money. And they were terrified. And so giving that kind of a scenario, students don't realize, this doesn't just happen right out of high school. This is a lifelong thing, and it can affect them later down the road. So just making themselves aware of what they're putting out there, knowing what isn't appropriate, that people don't just call you and say, send me money, that you shouldn't just give things over the phone. And some of them had, the common sense to know some of those things. But the problems with a lot of those is that it's fear and wanting to know things, and those, get rich quick schemes, and, oh, you can make this much money, and just kind of being aware that those things don't just happen. I mean, as much as they would love for it to, it just doesn't happen that way. And so not to be preyed upon. And so that is a lifelong skill. I think we watched some of those videos and they were absolutely shocked that, that this happens. And from people that they trust a lot of the times, I think that probably made it more impactful. And to see that this is just one step. So learning to look at that. And I know several years ago when Oklahoma teachers were hit, I had 3 counts of identity from jobs that I didn't have. And it was kind of humorous because I kept going through the same processes. But learning that, I had a student who someone had stolen her Social Security card and was using it. And she said, they said my credit was wrong when I went to try to open up an account for something. And she said, I had no idea. And so knowing that it can affect them no matter what kind of a small town, a city, if you're getting gas, knowing to be careful about putting things out there. I know we have people all around town, and that was something that they talked about, like on Facebook. They say, oh, so-and-so left their credit card or their gas card. And kids going, you've got to really take more protection in that and be careful with what you're putting out there. So I think especially with so many of my kids, using Venmo, using Apple Pay, using those things, that online banking, I think it probably made them think a little bit more, and that it isn't just something that they use in high school.
And final question, at the end of the lesson, there are activities there. So how do you engage all students in your classroom in the activities?
I think with my class, anything that's not English, they're going to want to get engaged in, because it's better than English. But for them, they are really good about inclusion. And I think, just making sure I kind of go around and I'm not leading it. I'm letting them lead and take turns, and they get to talk about it and have that discussion on what's working and what's not. And then when they present, one thing that I actually use for my kids who don't like to get up and speak and do that is that they can kind of reiterate a point that someone made. So they can kind of restate that, put it in their own words, turn it around a little bit just to kind of reinforce something. And that's something that I really press on that. And that's for any class that I teach, but especially for those things, what can you do? What can you add to your group in what capacity? So some may be, drawing something, some may be putting in something, being the background, making sure they have like the ad libs, just kind of adding additional information to that so they don't feel like they are in the limelight.
Okay, and any final words or thoughts about this lesson? If there's a teacher out there who's hesitant to try it out in the classroom, what would you say to them?
Don't be afraid to fail. I know the first time that I presented this is we're from a small town. These kids aren't going to care about this, but they do. And I know as we are into the future of money and scams with those things, and I know Oklahoma has casinos, and we have those things, kids turn 18, that's where they want to go. And just being careful with their identity, knowing that, that's takes away your life. It can take away your home. It can take away everything that you save for, your savings. And so just being aware makes our kids more ready to go out into that world and not be afraid to ask questions, to be more cautious. And I think that's really important. In the end, it's them that we want to help prepare, give them a better opportunity.